A few days ago, as of recording this, there was a Nintendo Direct that announced something incredibly massive. And while it's not a new system or technically a new game, this exists and is really important who love the original Paper Mario games and haven't really been able to get anything from that in years. And yes, I'm talking about the Thousand Year Door remake and why it matters. And look, this isn't going to be a review on Thousand Year Door, but more so, in a way, a recap of the Paper Mario series, specifically from the perspective of someone who grew up with the newer games and didn't even touch Origami King, because I did not care. So when I talk about the newer games, please note I literally have not played the newest one, and we'll talk about Sticker Star especially later. I haven't played most of the newer games, and in fact, the ones I have played, I have not played in years. Really, the only ones I've played in recent memory are the two traditional ones. But I do truly think the first thing of note in this list is the bare minimum, bare fact that we have a solid through line of when Thousand Year Door Remake was at least considered. Chapter 1. The summary of the first two games. I don't have a better name for it, okay? Paper Mario 64, also known as Mario Story in Japan, and Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door are two incredible RPGs set in the Mario world with incredible stories and a ton of likable characters. And when I say likable characters, I'm serious. The partners are so amazing. And since Nintendo doesn't really want to characterize Mario, they instead do it through giving Mario partners who do most of the story for him. Mario is still more of an everyman, while the partners are the ones who communicate and speak. And that isn't a bad thing. If Nintendo wants to keep Mario like that, then as long as he has something to counterbalance that and actually progress a compelling story, that's fine. You know, till we get to Super Paper Mario, where they were literally just shapes, and then Color Splash, Sticker Star, and Origami King, where they don't exist. And at that, they have a lot more of a traditional RPG battle system. It's turn-based, and requires a decent amount of strategy, but your attacks deal more or less damage, depending on how well you time a button press or certain command input while doing them. And the same thing goes for enemy attacks, where if you press a button at the right time, you can guard their attack and deal less damage. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot, and in reality it isn't. It's a relatively simple system. But that adds a lot of additional depth into what would otherwise be a relatively generic RPG system. You know, also there's a thing called experience and level ups in this game. The point being, while these RPGs are relatively basic at their core, they still have a lot of depth, fun stories to tell with fun characters. Like, genuinely, I honestly do think Thousand Year Door is my favorite game with Mario attached to it. Then we got Super Paper Mario, which in its own right is a good game. It feels more like a spin-off than a mainline game, because it is a platformer where you can flip between 2D and 3D. You still have partners, and it has a good story. But the problem with the game is it was the beginning of the end. After that came Sticker Star, which was advertised and promised to be a return to form to the Paper Mario series. Yeah, a return to form after one game that is basically a spin-off. But boy is Sticker Star a game that exists with the Paper Mario name attached. Like, genuinely, if I wasn't switching music at the chapter transitions, this would be where I play, like, depressing music. I think the best way to explain the quality, if I can even say it has any, of Sticker Star is the fact that I was a little kid when this game came out. Like, probably 6 or 7. And even I saw how crap this game was and dropped it. A, like, 7-year-old would eat anything with Mario on it. I actively recall finding the game boring, frustrating, and uninteresting. And then there's Color Splash and Origami King. And while I know I got Color Splash for Christmas the year it came out, I don't really think I played it. And I just went, when Origami King got revealed, like, okay. Yeah, I don't care. Because at that point, I'd played through most of these games to at least a point where I realized that they were either worth playing or not. And that's where the Paper Mario series sat. Fans of the original games waiting for a potential return to form as hope slowly dwindled. As we wouldn't know till the next Nintendo system, as you can tell, we've really only been getting one per system. And since hope slowly began to dwindle, the fans decided, screw it, let's do it ourselves. Chapter 2, Age of the Fans. Also known as the section where I talk about Bug Fables and Arlo. Before we continue, if you're enjoying the video, please consider liking and subscribing since it helps the channel a ton. Thanks. As much as I want to make a longer section about Bug Fables, I'll keep it short, and effectively a group of fans of the Paper Mario series, I don't know if they're fans for a fact, but evidently they care enough to make a game in the same style, made a game called Bug Fables. It is a fantastic game that is effectively what I think Paper Mario 3 probably would have felt like. And if you're a fan of the classic Paper Mario games, I highly recommend giving it a shot. It's on pretty much everything, I think. And you may wonder why I bring this up. More so just to say, the wait was so long that people had the time to not only make a game that is effectively a sequel, but for a small indie team to do that, which also happened to get completely unnoticed and then have a resurgence with a port. Anyway, on to my favorite blue Muppet, Arlo. And while all this is happening, again, the period between Paper Mario games, effectively, Arlo not only went from nothing to being a creator with popularity, with an entire Paper Mario game coming and going in that time. And an petition. I'm talking about this because Arlo made a petition for a 1000-Year Door port. Which, as of me taking this screenshot, which was the day 1000-Year Door's remake was announced, had 55,000 signatures. Arlo promoted this really heavily, and this is also why I say I think that's why we know, because this was from July of 2019. And I do think it is entirely possible for the entirety of a 1000-Year Door remake to be made in the second half of 2019 through whenever it releases in 2024. My guess is June or July, as I've noticed these games seem to like releasing in the summer. And this petition, this want for a port, I may add, an upscaled port of a GameCube game to the Switch, got a lot of love, basically immediately. We were asking for a port. Not even a remake. Just a port. Literally just a copy and paste of the GameCube game with slightly better graphics. The point more or less being the gap was so long that fans took it into themselves to try to get Nintendo's attention. Chapter 3. Why this all matters. And the answer really is, there's a ton of people like myself, and clearly the 50,000 other people who signed a petition who want to see more Paper Mario games in this original style, instead of the weird style that I have other words I use, but I know YouTube wouldn't allow me, of Sticker Star and beyond. And I genuinely really want this game to do numbers when it releases, because I want this game to show Nintendo, we want more of this, not this. And I leave Super in a bit more of a gray area, because it really is the beginning of the end and a bridge between these two styles of Paper Mario. One that is a very different style from the games we know and love, but still has those stories and characters. And genuinely, I would love to see what effectively I would call a Paper Mario 3, as I really don't count the games after Thousand Year Door as the same series. Now on to the part where I say why this matters. How often do you actually see Nintendo listen to fan outcry? Especially when that number is relatively small in comparison to series numbers. Like, yes, there's Project Rainfall from the Wii, which Nintendo claims they didn't listen to. And that's even more impressive considering this was a point where you couldn't just, like, harass Nintendo on Twitter about this. You would have to have sent them a letter in the mail. And genuinely, I do even think Nintendo's known this whole time. Paper Mario fans have wanted a 2D traditional Paper Mario game. And the reason I say that is because of something I mentioned back with Sticker Star. They advertised it as a return to form. Which, again, is still weird to me because Super is more of a spin-off than anything, but you know what I mean. I guess I'm saying it matters because, well, really, this is what I've wanted to see. And we are 12 minutes into this video now, and I haven't even gotten to talking about Thousand Year Door. This is essentially the preamble to Thousand Year Door's remake. So, Chapter 4. Actually talking about the remake. And genuinely, the Thousand Year Door remake, just from this trailer alone, looks gorgeous. And I do genuinely mean it when I say this. This game does not look like a Switch game. To me, it genuinely looks something that is running on next-gen hardware, i.e. the PS5, i.e. the Xbox Series. Which is extra impressive, one, if we're looking at specs, and what the Switch is graphically capable of, we're looking at a PS3. Do I think it's running on next-gen hardware? Hard to say. The game's mostly being carried by its lighting engine, and the game probably isn't too graphically intensive since it's almost entirely made of sprites anyway. And the Switch is actually shown to have some pretty insane lighting engines, specifically Xenoblade D. But either way, the game looks incredible, and I genuinely love how, for the character sprites, they actually look three-dimensional in a way. Effectively, things that should be separate layers, separate pieces of paper overlapping, have that feel to them. This, honestly, I think the best way to put it is it feels like a video game that's animated in stop motion. It feels like the papercraft world this was always meant to be, but never could because it was stuck on the GameCube. Which at that is a system that can look really beautiful. And I'm not saying the original looks bad by any means. I am solely praising how this is an insane upgrade. And I think the original looks amazing to this day. But really, this video is just the story of the long wait that it has been to see a new Paper Mario game in this style. To see a game I am so eager to play the second I can. And I hope you guys are too. See you guys in the next one.